Thanks for coming on our episode today. This is the Sales and Onboarding series by RevRack. I'm Arushi, I'm your host for today's episode and the founder's office at RevRack. So, the goal has always been to bring leaders who've built products and platforms that we all use and decode how they did it and where AI fits. This week, we are super duper excited to bring in two amazing guests, Daisy Fernandes and Venkat sir. So let me just give you a brief about them. Um, Daisy, ma'am, what do I tell about her? She's worked at so many different banks. She's worked on domestic and global card products. She's worked at small challenger banks and large multinational banks. She's built products from scratch and she's also scaled mature businesses. And the fun fact is that she and Venkat sir were colleagues back at Axis Bank. So what's better than having two colleagues come, in one episode and talk about how they built products. So thanks for coming today, ma'am. We are super glad to have you.
I'm privileged to be here. Thank you for having me.
And we have with us Venkat sir. So Venkat sir will be bringing in the global lens. He is the former MD and CEO at India Post Payments Bank and has previously led payments innovation at Axis Bank. His experience ranges from government-led inclusions to the global card ecosystem. Thank you for coming on today's episode, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Arshi. Thank you, Asosh.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Devi, ma'am.
And by the way, welcome,
And then,
Daisy, on board.
yes,
Thanks, Venkat. It's great to be connected with you like this today.
Yeah.
and then we have Ashutosh. He is the co-founder and CEO at RevRack, and he is building AI agents for digital onboarding in BFSI, FinTech, and InsurTech. So this episode completes the trio with expertise in embedding AI agents into onboarding and having a global lens of uh, cards and also talking a bit about government inclusions from banking to technology. So it's a jam-packed panel we have today, and let's get started. All right. So Daisy ma'am, I want to understand a bit about you. So you've moved from launching card-based insurance products at Citi to designing prepaid transit cards at Axis, scaling at Standard Chartered, running savings at ICICI, and now leading digital initiatives at Aditya Birla Capital Digital. So how has the experience been for you right from the start, and what principles have you carried through such varied roles?
Saji, thank you for making me look so good in your introduction. That's been wonderful to hear from you. Yes, it's been a multivariate experience, right? And I think one of the most important things is that when you keep moving, you need to build credibility all over again. So that muscle of starting and restarting has built very well over the years for me, and that's also helped in some of the green state projects that I've been able to build, right? Products that you build from scratch, you just build the muscle of resilience. Um, there's a lot of content available on product management across the industry. So I think I'll steer away from what's the common principles that, but perhaps talk about what's worked for me, personally. And I remember when I was a marketing trainee way back in Citibank when I started off, and one of my questions was that what filter of decision making do I use? I was advised by my then mentor that it always has to be customer, franchise, and then revenue. And this filter has stayed with me throughout my career in every decision I do. Right. So that's one thing I think which has worked very well. I think second is in product you deal with a ton of ambiguity. So whoever's creating the product, the ownership of clearing the clouds and ensuring that the end state, and you've zoomed out to the extent that you have the full picture in mind is very essential. And then you zoom in back so that you're able to break it into parts and execute and ensure that people around you, your entire ecosystem of technology, of service, of support, of distribution is able to rally behind your vision. I think that is inevitably a skill which I think I had to build, and I have been in a better place in building products because of the skill. And I'm now encouraging my team to do that as well. And I think third is, with product comes absolute ownership, right? You have the big picture, you have to drive the big picture, and it doesn't change. So you have to take people along and work. And I think these core principles remain consistent in whatever you do, whichever product you do. And I think while I've been largely in the financial space, I've had the privilege of working with products across in retail banking, and different institutions also is what I would say. When right from an MNC to a small bank to now a fintech in a conglomerate, right? And across, I think these principles remain the same for me. They don't change. Apart from, of course, everything else that we learn about product management, theoretically. But I think these are the practical cases which have worked well for me.
Ma'am, just one follow-up question. Like, I know you've built so many products throughout these years, but like, is it something that you knew you wanted to do right from the beginning, or did the path kind of just lead you from one to the other?
So the beauty of it is, when I was in MBA, before I entered MBA, and I'm an engineer turned MBA, right? One of those classic cases, and the classic three-idiot case of, you become an engineer MBA, then and you enter into a financial institution. But all of this happened accidentally, is what I may say. Before I entered MBA, I wanted to be a brand manager because I thought that branding and the world of branding and marketing was wonderful and so amazing. Then I did my MBA, and in branding classes, I realized everybody was talking so much about things which were so non-practical that it turned me away. And my choice of location brought me into financial services. And over a period of time, I realized that my strength of engineering became a pillar of strength, because to build products in financial services, a combination of technology and finance was essential, which I think I discovered along the way. I had the privilege of working on products in cards and payments, which allowed me to leverage technology and understand and understand that that's my strength actually. So today I've realized that the intersection of consumer use cases, finance, and technology is a core strength I have been able to build over the years. So no, nothing was. I would love to say that I had a career path charted out for me over the years, but all of these have been opportunities that have come by, and I went by my gut that this will work, and it did.
That's so nice to hear. I mean, things just happen and then they work out the best in the best possible manner. So, ma'am, now at RevRag, we are all about AI. So, I just want to take some inputs from your end. Um, AI inclusion was not taking place back in the days in the early 2000s or even in mid 2000s. But now, especially if you go to AI, a lot of banks, a lot of fintechs, they are embedding AI to their workflows in different stages. So I want to ask you, since you've built so many products yourself, if you had to design a product today, do you think would you think about AI triggers from day one, or would you probably think of embedding them later in the stages? How would you go about it?
So I've been in an interesting space right now where when we launched the app, right, we did have AI embedded as a part of the search engine, because those are the days when AI was just coming up. I think in the market in a
Mhm.
enterprise friendly way. If I have to look at it today, I think we're still in a flux. We're still not ready to incorporate AI at the time of embedding in the product, because I think it's a matter of building confidence in the system of how do you build it in. But yes, we are in the process of building products which are AI first today. So I think now it's gone from a stage of just talking about AI to embedding AI in products. And I think very soon, what you say in terms of thinking about how can I accelerate with AI will become a reality. I must say that's still work in progress at my end. It's not something which I'm doing fully 100%, because there are a lot of aspects for us to consider, and there's an ecosystem to build. It's not just product thinking which shifts. It is your technology thinking which needs to shift. It is your data sanity and availability at all stages needs to be conditioned and in place for leveraging AI. And at the same time, your consumer testing and the ability for you to use the right models and test the right models, right, for your outcome is important. So I think it's a work in progress still, but very soon I think it will be a reality.
Daisy ma'am, I have a follow up on that
Sure.
actually. So I'm curious, uh, like, what do you think would be the timeline of when people? So there is a saying that is going on in the market that uh, I usually like try to use it in every pitch that I make to everyone, right? So today's app will become tomorrow's agent of sort, right? The
Yes.
tomorrow's AI agent, right?
Yes.
So what do you think? What would be, as you said, we are now there, instead of talking AI, we are actually embedding AI into our
Yes.
workflows, and so this has started to happen, right? And we are also working with a lot of people. But what do you think will happen, or what is the timeline that you see from your perspective? The shift will happen from apps to agent in BFSI.
See, if I have to, that time frame is hard for me to say, but it's more near than far away. I mean, it could be 6 months to a year. I think a lot of things might change, right? And you see the change happening because 6 months back, when we were thinking of, some methods of personalization, leveraging AI, I was often wondering that if we are thinking this, why is, I mean, are others not, or is the world not adopting it? And the last 1 week, I have seen a slew of use cases on the same thought process, right, launched by many other partners in the industry. So I think it's just a matter of that shift and confidence in adoption. I think it's a matter of 6 months to a year because it's not the technology which is not ready, or the technology I think is getting there faster. It is the culture of organizations which needs to open up to adopt the practices of AI, right?
Makes sense.
And it has to be democratized within the organization and driven by the leadership. So I think those changes are what I foresee happening in the next 6 months or so, and you will soon have use cases lead adoption also in the industry.
Makes
So
sense.
I think by and large, the fintech industry has led more innovation, and the remaining the banks and institutions have adopted them later. Even with the account aggregator, right? You had
Yep.
large banks adopt account aggregator as late as the last 6 months.
Hmm.
Beyond use cases of lending.
Hmm.
So I think, and it's rightly so because a lot there's a lot more to lose when you are a large financial institution, right? Compared to somebody who's more agile and able to deliver use cases faster. So I think it's a matter of transitioning, and it might come soon.
Makes sense. Thank you so much for that.
Um, Sir, just like I pointed the question towards Daisy, ma'am, I want to understand your part as well. So, how have you seen the last few years change about their thoughts on embedding AI, or I'd rather say AI agents into their workflows? Can you tell us a bit? Yes, I think.
I think he has a bad network, I guess. Or he
Okay,
dropped
no
off.
worries, no worries.
We can ask
No
him
problem.
this question later, or we can move on to Daisy
When he
now.
comes back, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ashutosh, I have a question for you because we're talking a lot about AI. So I just wanted some specifics on voice AI. So because you're embedding voice into the existing flows of different banks and BFSI enterprises, what signals tell you when a product is a great fit for AI calling or in-app voice agents versus the existing set of tools like uh, a bot or chat or email.
Right. So, if you would have asked me this question 6 months earlier, I would have said that, yeah, probably chat is the answer, right? But today, I think after using so many tools out there, and every tool is actually moving towards the voice use cases, right? I have been using Whisper, Flow for a while now, and using Granola, using multiple other these type of tools, and it has, now I'm kind of addicted to these type of uh, like tools. And at the same time, one thing that happened was, I've seen one kid actually using, the phone was given to him or her, right? And basically he opened up YouTube and immediately tapped the voice thing for search, and started searching, and the video came immediately, and he tapped and started watching, right? So we as human are very much adaptable to voice use cases. Is basically our normal language of conversation is voice, right? So I think uh, now machine needs to learn it, right? Earlier we were typing it and wasting our time. Most likely it will be, there will be use cases where we will type, but mostly what is going to happen is that uh, voice will play a very critical role. And as I was asking Daisy ma'am that okay, today's apps will become tomorrow's agent, right? So agents are basically will be nearing to like behave like humans, right? And if it is human, probably they should be able to understand how to communicate, right? So I think that is going to be a key thing, and that is going to be the central theme of any agent overall, right? And what we are trying to do, what is basically, see, we are trying to build a layer of AI relationship management, which use relationship management already does exist in BFSI, but in today's world it is not relationship overall, it is majorly management, right? Because every 3 months there is a new relationship manager that comes into my life, right? So I think that is the layer that is very much needed, and we are seeing this happening in other areas, right? Chat gpt has become kind of my companion for searching few things, right? So same thing will happen in BFSI as well. There will be apps which will become companion for banking, companion for loans, companion for insurance, right? So I think, and this companionship is basically driven as relationship manager, right? So what we are doing and what we have understood is, abhi we are showing ROI on onboarding because everybody wants to see ROI. Otherwise we'll be kicked out, and if we try to sell the bigger vision here. But yeah, majorly how BFSI works is that you have to show ROI. So I think for us, onboarding made a lot of sense, and that's why we started working in onboarding, showing immediate ROI on conversions, reducing drop-offs, so on and so forth. I think that is something that we have learned so far, and it is a critical thing for bankers overall now.
That's absolutely correct. And thanks for giving us the clarity on the voice agents that you are building, Ashutosh, so that we know going into the episode what we are trying to understand from Daisy Ma'am's and Venkat sir's experience. So, Venkat sir, you being a leader and leading the India Post Payments Bank, I want to understand from your perspective about how things have changed over the years about banks and BFSIs kind of implementing AI into their flows. How have their thoughts changed and where we are at the moment?
Yeah, sorry. First of all, today I seems to be subjected to Murphy's law quite often. So the things are going wrong with my side. Almost 2 or 3 times I had to log off. Anyway, so coming back to the question what you just raised, Arushi, I think first and foremost I would say I would take a step back. I think there's a lot of ambiguity when it comes to understanding AI, particularly in the BFSS space. While the potential AI offers is quite immense in whatever field or whatever domain or whatever function that you choose within the banking, whether it is customer interactions or whether it is your own risk management or whether it is your own administration, including your internal communications and governance related matters, including the board related conversations, where you'll have to keep track of various aspects. I think there is not a single space where you cannot embed AI into. I mean, there's a myriad of workflows where AI can be embedded, but unfortunately, I think the understanding pertaining to the AI do not seems to be all permeating. And thankfully, in the recent past, if you see, regulator had come up with some directions. I think that would shed some light and pave way for more and more experimentations when it comes to AI. So setting that apart, I think there are quite a few areas, as Ashutosh and Daisy rightly pointed out. when you apply AI for various customer interactions, I think that's where you start seeing more and more ROI. Because unless until you don't see the efficiency gains in coming in, uh, probably it will be difficult. Then the expectations are higher, and sometimes the technology is not delivering. So I think setting those expectations and putting the might of AI in right direction is very important. So from that perspective, consumer interactions can be first priority when it comes to application of AI. How you can better the overall product management practice. How can you kind of ensure that you are achieving a early GTM, especially with some of the product launches, and whatever frictions that exist while you launch the product, how quickly you are able to turn around with quick fixes. Because now with AI, you are able to quickly turn around, and more importantly, you can understand where things have actually gone wrong. Otherwise, 10, 20 years back, for any product launch, in fact, Daisy can relate to that. When we launched a Suvidha card, so initially we did face with some of the challenges, that most of these issues would actually come from field. Somebody will say that they encountered some problem. So unless until somebody complains, you will not come to know what actually went wrong, and then you get into some sort of a the postmortem activity. But whereas in this AI era, you can actually get a very proactive nudges directly from the system, and where you can actually understand that where things have exactly gone wrong. Otherwise, in the old era, unless until somebody from IT says that okay, from this point to this point, probably the transaction has fallen, or some issue happened between some systems. So you will have to do that RCA, and that itself would be a big exercise. But whereas today, I think that can those kind of insights can come in a jiffy. So that's why you can do a faster turnaround when it comes to fixes. And that apart, the entire product thought process can completely undergo a change. Because one aspect that I would want to touch upon, which is again very favorite subject of mine, because money is a common denominator. If you look at anybody, with money you buy happiness, you buy value, you buy health, you buy wealth. Now, come AI, you can actually embed intelligence into that money. So, what if money is embedded with intelligence, and what kind of value enhancement it can bring to all these areas, or whatever that you do with money? So, I think this is the kind of thought process if banks can engage into, then obviously I think they would be transforming the interactions of consumers with financial institutions. Because ultimately consumers use money for various purposes, and banks can do their bit in terms of enhancing the value for whatever purchase that happens from the customer's money. Apart from safe custody of the money, I think the other area where we have seen a lot of consumer interest being breached is on frauds, where consumers are now losing money because we have traded convenience or traded privacy for personalization, and the convenience also is somewhere getting diluted. So if that can be bettered with technology, I think that could be another area where AI can really become helpful. So this is how I feel it can make difference.
So I have a follow up, Venkat sir, and even to you, Daisy ma'am, right? So as Venkat sir said that if AI wants to show, like if the adoption, if the AI adoption needs to be picked up in an organization, probably showing ROI from the customer side would be the best thing to basically start with, at least, right? Uh, and what I have understood is there is like relationship management overall layer that is there, right? So if sir, just picking your brain there, if you can like unwrap that piece, right? uh, for a banker, what does a relationship management actually mean, and how multi-stacked or multi-layered that thing is, and where do you think AI will fit in? uh, I think that is something that I would love to know from that perspective. Yeah. and would love to pick your brains as well on the same question.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure, sure, sure. See, there are two fronts to this question. One is the consumer side of the value proposition. The other is the bank's side of value proposition. So banks always look at it as a total relationship value, TRV, something like TRV, total relationship value. So as long as you are able to enhance that TRV through these value enhancements, definitely that becomes one of the objective for embedding AI. The other part or other way of looking at is that as long as you are able to enhance the value proposition, your TRV will automatically increase, because ultimately it increases usage. I mean, if I talk about card, we do card based personalization, because when you do some of the personalization stuff, you understand more about the customer, and again give those regular feedbacks to the customer, and based on that the usage goes. So which means when you look at it from a customer value proposition, probably the value enhancement could be much higher, because you are trying to look at it from a customer or a consumer lens, and vis-a-vis the TRV purely from a bank lens, because when banks look at it, obviously they look at some of the efficiency gains, whether it could be your process enhancement, maybe in terms of reducing the number of drop off that otherwise could happen because of any system related issue, or it could be any kind of a feature enhancement that again purely from a consumer perspective can increase the usage. So that way you can have a portfolio of these factors which can actually go into the value enhancement. But you will have to really understand that what actually appeals to the consumer. So this might require some back-end research in terms of understanding what could add value, or put some design thinking principles into play, and then that can actually give you some of these answers. But definitely understanding these data insights and utilizing AI for understanding these insights or visualization of these insights, it can be really, really helpful.
So I'm going to touch upon a bit of what is the customer's expectation with the RM and what the RM in a ideal scenario is expected to do, right? The customer's expectation with the RM is that there'll be somebody who understands my need, who understands my life context, and who is able to make a recommendation, which is the best possible recommendation for me, and of course, handhold the processes and documentation. And if something should go wrong or I have a question, I have somebody to rely on. It could be surplus funds where to invest. It could be the right investment option for me. It could be rebalancing requirements for me. It could be the best product for my lifestyle. Multiple assets, right? Based on my assets and liabilities. RM in an ideal world is supposed to, of course, understand the customer, be there at the right moment when the customer needs something. So, and be available, right? That's an ideal state now. In a practical state, it doesn't happen. In a practical state, when I need something, I practically don't even know where my RM is or who my RM is, right? And therefore, the RM doesn't understand, that I have a need because I need to explicitly mention that. For ultra HNIs, could happen, but there it becomes a highly push environment because the RM is not able to anticipate the need. So what ends up happening is that you're constantly in touch with the customer. That you take one product vis-a-vis the other product, something new is available in the market, you take it. And banks, I know that while I was a part of the banking system, banks have tried hard to build customer 360 views and build interpretations for the relationship manager. Now, here where it gets hard, right? Your top 1% of relationship managers will be able to use this data and customize pitches. But you have a long tail of 99%, which is influencing your outcomes and your profitability. How do you make sure that the 99% at least reach up to the average of the 1%? I think here is where AI can play a large role in democratizing information and democratizing what's working really well across an organization, right? So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it, that there has been a lot of information and signals available in the banking environment, but often it operates in silos. My card systems, which are great indicators of my lifestyle, behavior, needs, triggers, do not talk to my banking systems, which is where my decisions on investments and savings line. AI can help unify, because traditionally what has happened is this is always a very hardworking model, right? You had to have a tech team who will sit and marry information, data engineering team who will make sense of it. The effort around doing it was extremely high, and the downstream effort on consuming it was extremely high. I think AI helps accelerate some of this work, which otherwise was treated mundane. Of course, data engineering doesn't go off still, but at least the downstream process of intelligence of using it, right? Piping their information and ensuring that the RM gets a trigger on the right time, gets messages across various channels at the right time. There always has been a wish list of this, right, Ashutosh? It's never been that people have not envisaged the situation or have not envisioned this reality. This is a state which everybody wanted to have, and I'm sure most product managers have designed this exact flow in paper for a very long time. The
Yeah,
hard part has been execution. The hard part has been personalization. Because imagine if a product manager had to write thousands set of rules, thousands and thousands rules, and anticipate that how the customer behavior is going to change and therefore what my RM should do. That
right,
process is
right.
hard. Can I build this self-learning system via AI, right? It
Yeah,
may give 10% right the first time, but the ability for it to build reinforcement learning is what's going to help me reach my goal faster.
makes sense.
Otherwise, this itself becomes a cost exercise. So I think we are in a brilliant space for any product manager to be, and I tell my team this often than not, is that what AI has helped us do is open up doors of possibilities. And it's up to us how, within the guardrails of ensuring that it is safe, secure, informative, and accurate and accurate to certain degree to the customer, we are deploying solutions like this. So that's my two bits about this on
Makes sense.
uh,
Makes sense. I think lovely take there. Thanks so much. Arushi, over to you.
All right. Thanks, Ashutosh. Thanks, ma'am, and thanks, sir, for your overview on the industry and how, we see AI now and how leaders see AI nowadays. So now I would want to narrow down on the topic that we had thought of from the beginning, which is cards. So, ma'am, based on your experience, I want to dive into certain nuances. Um, so let's start with when you built co-branded cards at City and prepaid and transit cards at Axis. I think you have built all kinds of cards, so you would be the perfect person to ask this question to. What design most impacts adoption in India, and let's say, or from a global front as well? What do you think are these pointers that have to be kept in mind while designing these products?
So I think both transit and co-branded cards were different segments of customers largely, but net the core purpose of that partnership or the use case, right? As long as the core purpose is defined very well. The bells and whistles are great, but typically, if you see adoption of bells and whistles are very few and large and far between. But if your core proposition is either built around a great experience, which in case of transit was necessary, right? Because the whole purpose of the card was the ability to buy a ticket, or the ability to subscribe for a pass, and the ability for it to function seamlessly across metro terminals and bus terminals. That had to work seamlessly in experience. The core value proposition should have been seamless. Accessibility around that, because based on the segment of consumers who are using it, it was hard to educate, right? These are not digitally savvy consumers. The ability for them to understand how a prepaid card works, how is it designed, what should I do when something goes wrong, what kind of messaging you have, what kind of help ecosystem you have, become core to the experience. On the other side, you have value-based cards, right? And while I have not built the Amazon ICICI credit card, I'm an avid consumer of it, and I just love the card. Uh, the proposition is around delivering value to the customer, and it is so sharp and so strong around that ecosystem, and that usage is given, right? And while you have many co-brands available in the market, co-brands have really worked in the industry, have been around the core proposition of value, and whether the consumer is able to see that value or not across without having a restriction on domains, avenues, or categories of purchase. Now, a consumer understands that you may not give me value if I'm going out of Amazon. You may give me lesser value compared to on Amazon, but it's clear it is not a combination of five different variables that, as a consumer, I'm supposed to think. So your proposition has to be simple and your proposition has to be effective. right? Which means that you need to have a long-term view of how this relationship will pan out, because co-branded cards by nature in the initial few years are loss-making propositions, and they are built with the design of acquiring customers at scale, right? So having the proposition right with a long-term view of how are you going to, how you actually your metrics of making money pan out, right? And what are the metrics and levers which are going to ensure, and I'm sure this is done across the cards industry extremely well, so this is not new. The second part is your actual onboarding experience, because that's also a large friction area. Who you are onboarding, how you are onboarding, how are you ensuring the right customer is coming in, especially when you're giving a credit product. How are you ensuring your experience of the right customer is on point? All of this become very important. And third is of course the life cycle of the customer, right? Because if you're talking about uh, any customer, either I have money in the card, or I owe money to the bank once money is utilized from my card. In both cases, the agility of the institution to respond to fraudulent triggers, deviations in patterns, signals like these reinforce trust. So as long as I have trust in the whole process as a consumer, that this financial institution has my back, that nothing can go wrong, and that mistakes will be taken care of, or if something goes wrong, it will be taken care of. All of these reinforce trust in a consumer's mind, and that becomes a card of choice. Because otherwise, the reality is that all of us have, the cards industry has worked on that top 2% or top 4% of the country's market, right? The same customer gets carded every time. So I as a consumer have some 5 or 7 cards in my wallet today. But the other reality which I've learned the hard way is consumer behavior doesn't change. So you may have 7 cards, you may card me as many times as you want, but I will still end up using those top 1 or 2 cards which I have high stickiness for. So value delivery is, I think, the ultimate reason why a consumer would use the card.
Mm.
And second is the ease of repayment as well, right? Because my choice of using a card also is linked to how easy it is for me to pay. And the moment you do not have avenues, I mean, of course, today, thanks to UPI, thanks to the likes of cred, and thanks to even banking infrastructure, a lot of interoperability has made some of these processes really, really simple. But otherwise, I think these are, but there are still some institutions and cards where these processes are hard. So I think that the choice and your design of experience makes a lot of difference in how consumers look at you and what is adopted. And those principles remain the same everywhere. I think your economics changes, and acquisition points change, or your decision to put money in giving value to the customer back, or acquiring the customer, are decision points when you decide a co-branded card versus a non-co-branded card, or versus a mass payment card like Transit. But largely, your principles around value to the customer, value of the experience, and ease of service and trust in the system doesn't change.
Right, ma'am. Just to summarize what you said, so value, delivery, and ease of payment, these two features have enabled users to adopt more credit cards in the past years. Ma'am, do you see any other area where there might be more scope of improvement going forward? Because in the past episode we had with a product manager, with a product lead, and he told us that there's a big gap between people who are there on digital platforms doing shopping versus people who adopt credit cards. So, do you think, how do you see the trend going forward? Would this gap kind of narrow down? Do you see the more Indians adopting credit cards going forward? And is there any um, experience that you've had where you've seen some surprising fact about adoption of credit cards in India throughout your journey? If there's anything that
So I
you've
think
experienced or seen,
the
could you tell
big
us about it?
issue with the big issue. So are you talking about the difference between digital payments like UPI versus credit cards? The adoption difference between that, is that what you're referring to? Just for to understand clearly.
So I meant concepts like BNPL, wherein people are afraid of getting credit cards, so they resort to transactional credit. Do we see more Indians picking up more credit cards with a lot
No,
of
I think
better features, better adaptability coming into the
I
cards?
have I have a slightly different opinion to that. I don't think Indians are averse to credit. I think it is the availability of credit which is a challenge, right? Because underwriting norms and information availability of data is usually been a challenge. Now, BNPL models are built around the ability for a consumer to be given a small line with minimum underwriting or with a really light touch underwriting, which allows me to give a credit
Right.
facility with no underwriting, right? But if you see the scalability of a lot of the BNPL models has usually not transitioned into a credit card because that is where it's hit a patch. It's been a very use case specific model, uh, and uh, and it's convenient. So, for example, if I'm using a BNPL line, if the BNPL line suddenly offers me credit card, I'm already a credit card customer. It's not going to add incremental value to me. Now, it's going to add incremental value when I'm a first-time card user, and often most card underwriting practices do not favor an NTC customer, and a BNPL customer may not be an NTC customer, but I think those programs have to yet evolve where the BNPL companies are not technically card companies. You have to technically partner with a bank to become a card company. And the moment you issue cards via banks, banks have their underwriting norms, which may or may not allow for somebody with a thin file of credit to be given a card, right? So I think that's where the fine line lies. I don't think as a consumer society, and that's why PL is. If you see personal loans, right, the market for personal loans is a very interesting market. Uh, there is no push mechanism, so I don't think Indians are credit averse. That's not the reason why credit cards are not getting getting more prolific visibility. I think it's two or three reasons. The ease of payments, of course, has shifted to digital payments as a form factor, right? Because today it's more convenient for me via a mobile phone. So earlier payments, which perhaps were happening on my debit card, have now moved completely to my bank account led UPI. So that's been a shift in behavior which has happened. But as far as credit cards are concerned, I think it's time that underwriting norms evolve with alternate data models, and only then I think you'll be able to card more consumers. I think it's very little to do with the mindset than with the approach of who do we offer a card to. I think that's also is changing, but the ability for credit footprint
Makes sense.
across the industry, yeah. So if I'm a salaried customer, my credit footprint is fairly clear, right? But when you have an entire economy of gig workers and freelancers today, where their income metrics are very diverse and seasonal. So how do you underwrite a customer like that? And I'm sure models are evolving in this space and this direction. But I think it is more to do with my perspective on that. And again, it's my personal view is that it could be the evolution of underwriting models that is more the need of the hour to card more customers.
Yeah, if I may add to this, Arishi, to this particular question of
Yes, sir.
BNPL and credit card customers, yeah, Daisy is right. See, the number of customers who are issued credit card, and also given the fact that each customer, I think the average number of credit cards is around 3 to 4 per customer, and number of cards which are active are around what 10 crore cards which are active credit cards, and the limit that is normally given on credit card is upwards of 50,000, while banks like SBI have experimented with sub 20,000 limits, but that has not really worked well. I mean, economics are not making sense. But whereas when it comes to BNPL, I think the ticket sizes have been quite lower. You can add another 10 to 15 crore customers. If you look at the digital lending, the entire digital lending portfolio, which is around 2 trillion, and there, roughly 8 to 10 crores is the number of customers. And the average ticket size there is less than 30,000. So there, it could be in the form of personal loan, it could be in the form of transaction based lending like BNPL, but that segment is largely who are not having credit cards. If you take off the people who are using UPI or debit card for e-commerce kind of transactions, so that number probably will or will not increase because it is being subject to the BNPL itself is being subject to regular controls because of various reasons, the unsecured nature. While while the belief is that it will increase in the long term because we have a lot of credit potential, particularly with more and more people joining the employment mainstream employment.
Yeah. To add, always thought that what would have helped the secured card framework, right? And FD back cards a great product in principle. But where it fails practically is that I think banks have typically not focused on it. It's hard to get, and unlike other interoperable modes, like loan against mutual fund today is an interoperable platform, right? I can have mutual funds anywhere and I can take a loan from anywhere, but that's not true with an FD. But if imagine a model like that evolving, right? Today FDs have become marketplaces, and that's evolving. I'm sure that there will be thoughts around this very soon, where if you can create a card and earmark a fixed deposit, and you have interoperable framework in place, I think those models will ensure that your NTC customers are carded via a secured line. That risk is minimized as well as you have the availability of credit, and you're building up a history for the next actual card, unsecured card to take place.
So,
So I think.
sorry to cut you there, Daisy. I think interestingly, what before this startup, we were working
Blanks.
on the same thing. So our thought process was, see, if we want to, if because India is a
Yeah.
mass, if we want mass adoption, right, for credit, FD cards are still like 5,000 rupees, right? For a rickshaw wala, for a auto wala, people like them, FD card are kind of like a very big step for them, arranging that 5,000 rupees as well, right? Uh, we were working on recurring deposit back credit card,
Oh,
as
100%.
in lowering down the limit, and they are like basically saving 50 rupees on a daily basis, increasing their limit, using the same card with UPI. That was the thing that we were building earlier than this Revrag. So, but we pivoted ultimately because of lower adoption from the bank side.
That's a hard model, hard working model to crack, unless and until you
Yes.
have interoperability. So the beauty of it is made savings accounts interoperable,
Yep.
information savings account interoperable. But I think fixed deposits wasn't largely a part of that system. But yeah, your time will change some of this.
Venkat sir, you're on mute.
No, no. I just wanted to bring up one important point on FD backed card. See, the way it is marketed traditionally by banks, I think probably has not clicked it
Yes.
with consumers. I think some of the fintechs have really worked out well. See, instead of calling it as a secured credit card, if you say that you are actually giving a debit card like FD card with liquidity, I think that will find a better market value or market acceptance. Otherwise, the people generally say that, why should I mean, when I can get a credit card, regular credit card, why should I take a loan against or a credit card against FD? Sometimes, that gets into some sort of a resistance.
No, no, absolutely. I think so. I have had a chance to have a chat with the folks who are building this a product, right? FD back credit card. A few of them are customers as well at Revrag. So I think, sir, they're actually trying to, and we went to the place, right? We had a chat with one of them, right? So together, actually. So I think they are actually trying to do the same thing, sir, because they have now understood the play that okay, it's not majorly only credit. It is FD plus liquidity plus a lot of offers on top of it plus UPI. A package of it is basically being sold to the consumers. So one question, Arushi, if I may, uh, uh, is so we have seen, as you touched upon, Daisy ma'am, that onboarding is also one of the very key important point, and as NTC customers, they don't understand how to basically buy or basically like get a credit card, right? So if you can double tap on what are some challenges that you have seen in your career, and you can highlight uh, that okay, what are the major from builder perspective as well and from user perspective as well, right? What are some like, let's say, black box for product managers while they're designing onboarding, and then from user perspective, some blockers for users as well.
See, the whole ecosystem of onboarding for any user digitally has been built around Aadhaar eKYC, right? And the core principle of Aadhaar eKYC is that your mobile and your Aadhaar need to be linked. Now, as long as all of these stats are true, and I'm able to onboard the customer easily, at least to a certain extent. Now, what happens is a challenge when a product manager designs any digital journey, right? Which is going to be, which is frankly, a journey of choice where most of us want to handle all edge cases digitally. It is when you do not, and you build a digital journey based on certain practices and principles. One, two, three, four. If true, this will be successful. A happy path is when all conditions are met. But when it's not a happy path, what is a fallback? Often, what happens is that your digital and your physical journeys are today operating in isolation. They do not marry or meet at some stage. A practical approach would have actually been that, for every such deviation, I have a process of reaching out to the customer, curing it, coming back, and continuing the journey, right? Because I just need to verify or validate that one step. So I think uh, we are at a stage where I think we have the ability to design that. But I think what usually happens is either it's a function of cost, in certain cases where you do things digitally and therefore physical becomes a cost, and in certain cases it becomes legacy systems, because they're not able to talk to each other. So that's one constraint I think often we face when we are designing digital journeys. Second part of the problem statement is consumer understanding of digital journey, right? Digital native customer will understand digital journey fairly well. He's used to doing many of these uh, journeys earlier, so that's easier for him to handle. But when you get a larger population included, and that's when they need handholding, then that becomes a challenge. Now that handholding again doesn't have a formal structure and approach, because a contact center agent sometimes, while there are systems in place, there are co-browsing systems in place, there are a lot of systems in place, but I think it's not so seamless for one or the other to navigate a customer meaningfully through journeys. It's been successful in some pockets, but I think it's not been a standard operating practice everywhere, right? An assisted journey for a customer. At the same time, while when it comes to design, we would love to build digital journeys which are so simple that consumers don't need hand holding. But there are practical limitations of a digital journey as well when it comes to really hand holding a customer. Now, I think these are interesting problem statements to deal with, and I'm going to preempt the next question about AI because we're talking about AI. I think AI can play a large role in this, right? Be it in form factors of voice or chat or any other form factor as desirable, or it could be even navigation through errors, right? Error messages. Because error messages are fairly standard, right? Designing a dynamic error message is a product manager's nightmare. Wish list, but nightmare. But how? But with AI, can I make it simpler? Yes, I can. So I think uh, we're going to see a transformation of how consumer onboarding will change with the help of some of these tools and utilities, which make
Absolutely.
it far more personalized, which make it far more intuitive for the customer, and give the option to the customer of how he wants to be dealt with. That some of us may not want to speak to anybody, some of us may want to speak to anybody, some of us may want to speak only when we require, some of us may want voice, some of us may want query based. The ability for you to offer a diverse plate of solutions, saying that pick what you choose, which was not cost effective earlier, which was tech nightmare earlier to build, I think becomes far more simpler with the organization of data for AI today.
Absolutely.
That's what I feel.
I think, how should I tell you that uh, you have just spoken the things that I and we are actually thinking day and night.
Lovely.
Right. Cool. Arushi, I think over to you. Sorry for barging in.
No worries, no worries. It's always great to have you in more perspectives and more nuanced conversations. Now, since we are already talking about credit cards, we also spoke about FD. What I want to understand from you, sir, is that if we talk about savings and payments, um, which two or three places do you think bring the highest ROI if we talk about AI, or if you want to specifically talk about voice AI agents? It could be, reactivation of customers when they drop off, or any smart nudges that we have to do, or conversational KYC. So where do you see the maximum ROI that AI brings in?
Yeah, see, definitely you'll have to look at this from a value lens perspective. So you'll have to reimagine the entire product experience with the help of AI. Now, AI with its intelligence actually gives you an opportunity to reimagine the whole experience part. Let me just break this down for you with some illustrations and examples. See, we all know, what kind of personalization that payment data can give, right? There are something like MCC codes in the card industry. You have these MCC codes where you can, quickly understand from consumer which category that he's spending. And some of the financial institutions and even fintechs have gone an extra mile in kind of offering some kind of discounts, offers. Okay, so there are various value enhancements that these people have really looked at. You can even go a step further in terms of, what all that you can do to consumer, from a product experience. One example that I would give is that today, suppose if your system has got the intelligence about what consumer is spending into, it could be you may be spending on various types of groceries, right? Today we only know that it is spent at a particular merchant. Now what if I as an AI able to understand that what all items that you have got, there are brand names, there is quantity, right? Now can I create a wellness index out of it? Today that is possible. That's a good possibility because of the embedded intelligence that we are going to have through AI. So those are the kind of value enhancements that you can look at by reimagining the entire product experience. So that can come either by way of digital billing that we normally receive from various brands, or you can even give a utility to consumer where they can probably scan the bill, and then that immediately converts all the text into the kind of data that is required. So that way you can actually understand what consumer is actually buying, and build the intelligence out of that. So like that you can think of various such categories and try help consumer in terms of managing these. Coming to savings, yes, even in the savings domain, you can come up with some sort of an advisory. While there are certain formulas, or there are certain algorithms around that, but with voice AI you can make it more interactive. Understand the consumer's perspective. Like each consumer has a different need, different goals to set. Understanding them and programming them into the whole experience layer is what that you can do with AI. I think the possibilities are immense. I mean, I can go on and on as far as understanding or productizing some of these experiences, but reimagining this whole product, I think that's the mute point where you can absolutely do with great potential of AI.
So that word sounds really nice. Reimagining. That perspective really brings in a different POV while building the products. I want to ask a very interesting question. So the lens is that things have to be easy for the user. That is how the user would adopt or probably take that credit card, right? So, ma'am, let's say, for example, now as a user, now I go on my phone and I click on the card, and then it gives me all the relevant information that I'm looking for. Would you see a future where people could interact with their cards, could be probably in app or via call? They could be asking their balance, or even probably receiving real time information. Any Do you see anything like this happening in the future?
So I think some of it is already happening today. But what will be really interesting for me to see in the future is where, see, today what's happening is that traditionally the way cars industry is operated, right? The fuel specific card, the lifestyle specific card, there is a some co-brand card, and I have used some 10 or 12 SKUs doing the same purpose of making payments. The only difference is the value proposition on the card, right? And plus, I think we moved into an era, thanks to digital mobile payments and UPI, right? and UPI on credit now also taking off in a big way. I think form factor agnostic. I think is the has always been or interoperable as a thought has always been a premise that I think people in the cards industry were veering towards, but I think it's becoming more a reality today. So yes, I think an AI has a large role to play in this, right? The ability for me to anticipate who this customer is and actually allocate a card of choice. Why should I go with the customer with say 10 different cards assortment and assortments? Why can't I go with one core card and say that wherever you spend, whatever is my best value for that particular you know merchant or your category pattern will be available to you. And what I do then is build a significant affinity of customers towards a particular category. And with e-commerce becoming, e-commerce being established, why can't I build affinity to between the category of customers and the brand? Why should it? While I think co-brand cards has in principally existed from a point of view of acquisition, but I think at the end of the day, it's about synergy of affinity, right? I have affinity towards one brand and another brand. At some stage, I want to capitalize on the economics of this customer paying via that instrument. Can we look at a world which is beyond form factors? Is what I think can be a possibility in the future. And don't make the customer don't. I think when we shift models from breakage to usage, I think that might shift the game, because today often what happens is when we curate offers, if you see most of the way our P&Ls are structured, there's an assumption that X percentage of the customers won't use it, and therefore you will make money out of it, right? um, I think cards have made money have assumed that you will have more usage of that particular feature. Is my rough thought process. So I think that will be interesting. And yes, I do see a place where an assortment of how do I want to use my service of credit becomes available to me. Whether it's via card as a form factor, whether it's via my mobile phone, whether it's via voice, or whether it's via any other source possible in future. I think that can be a reality.
Very, very interesting perspective, ma'am. Um, as you like rightly mentioned that some of them are already in use, but again, there is so much into it which will probably come in the coming years. Um, I mean, we have like covered a lot of topics, but now I'm kind of interested in understanding your switch from banking to fintech. After so many years in banking, you have finally come to fintech and you're leading the digital initiatives. How does it feel?
It's very interesting, right? Because I think my years in banking taught me about risk compliance and building in a regulated framework. Of course, when you move into a fintech, while you are regulation adjacent, while in some aspects you are dealing with regulation, but there is a lot of freedom of thought process that you suddenly get. Right? You're not the agility and agency which you have, I think, is phenomenal. And the experience of banking, I think, which I've had, which enables me to ensure that my financial products um, have sense and sensibility in them, I think is adds a lot of value. I think for me, I believe it is a natural transition of building digital services and parts to building a full stack digital solution in a really short span of time. And if I look back, I somehow feel that my every experience has totaled up to being able to launch the ABCD app. It's amazing how when in retrospect things suddenly seem to fit in.
I have one point to
That's
this
amazing to hear.
answer.
Um,
Okay, so Arishi,
yeah, please, please.
regulated environment would not allow you to unleash your passion. Okay, so whereas fintechs, have that
Yeah.
opportunity, will offer you that opportunity. So hunger, that whatever hunger that you have, generally in a regulated environment, what happens is you are actually doing a lot of firefighting. More of firefighting, less of product creation.
Yes, sir. No, absolutely. I'm sure you must have experienced that. So, like you just mentioned, right? There's a lot of freedom that you've seen. I mean, it's so along those lines. In fintechs and in banking, I mean, we were discussing, that yes, AI has a lot of use cases in cards and in the coming years. But is there place where we draw a line while thinking of implementing AI with cards? Are there any guardrails which are like absolutely non-negotiable if we are introducing AI? In
Yes.
cards versus also in fintech, because you've seen both sides, ma'am.
So I think irrespective of where you're implementing it, the guardrails, I think
So I
practically.
just, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. You were
No, no,
saying something,
exactly. That's
Anand?
what I just wanted to ask your views on this point.
So I was saying
No,
that
no, no.
irrespective of whether it is cards or fintech, I think the guardrails largely remain the same, right? One is AI should be used to inform the customer, not act on behalf of the customer, and AI should be used to nudge the customer, not decide on
Hmm.
the basis of the customer, right? And control of consumers' data has to be with the consumer. When that trust is built, uh, I think AI can do its job. When I think we talk about autonomy in AI, and there are various factions and views on that. And we've had recent incidences in the past as well, right? When you leave it without a human in the loop to act, often decisions are expensive. So I think it doesn't change the nature of humans being in the loop for critical decision making. I think I often love the usage of the word intern. So AI should be used as an intern, where you are checking the work, and I mean the intern does a heavy lifting for you, does all the monotonous, boring tasks for you, and frees your time for doing more meaningful things. But at the end of the day, you don't let the intern present to your board, right? You ensure that you've done a layer of checking, and I think that works beautifully in my mind when we use any solution with AI, be it consumer facing or be it otherwise. And I think when you go consumer facing, the ownership of ensuring that what you're delivering to the consumer is on point becomes very important. And if you're not sure, then at least informing the customer that allow us to make mistakes. So it's having a clear disclaimer that this is AI generated and there will be mistakes. So I think GPT does it beautifully, and most platforms do it beautifully. Allows you to run experiments with the comfort that you're not going wrong for the consumer. So I think these are guardrails which are super essential. Consent and a framework around consent is non-negotiable wherever you're dealing with consumer data, and especially in consumer-facing applications, you will be dealing with consumer data largely. So I think there are, I think, guidelines that are emerging in this space, and would love to see how most of us use it in the consumer's advantage. As any technology, I think the regulator will at some stage and some point, have a point of view. I have known the regulator to stand on the sidelines and watch until it evolves and enter in when it's the right time. It did it with prepaid, I think, some years ago. So I'm sure regulations also will emerge when use cases become more productionized across the industry, um, and uh,
Mhm.
and allow for more creativity, right? At the same time, having the guardrails of consent and trust.
Rightly said. I mean, I just love how uh, clear your thought of thinking is. And where you mentioned that, we can also treat AI as an intern and make it do all the routine tasks, and eventually we are the ones who present um, the main, we present everything to the consumer facing side. Um, so there's one thing that I want to understand now that we have discussed about how things are at the moment. Um, so this one's for you. So if the trends keep going like this, uh, how would you see probably the next 5 to 10 years things changing for cards, and specifically with AI being embedded into cards? And is there anything interesting that you want to see, or something that you have seen already being implemented, something which is out of the conventional way?
Okay. Now, here again, I completely agree with what Daisy just mentioned. We should not get hung up about the form factor part. See, we've already seen in payments, there are various form factors, right? Today, you are making payments through multiple modes. So, irrespective of like for transit, you use one. I mean, for transit, you use more than one, right? You use your FASTag for vehicles. You use, the transit card for metro, right? And you have cards which work on NFC that get embedded into your smartphone. So that way, I think the form factors are multiple. There are multi modes in which you can make payment. And yes, what is time tested always is the guardrails that go hand in hand with this. But what can really change is that now super apps can actually get transformed into super agents. As we have just discussed, there's more and more autonomous agents that will come into play. Like as I was telling earlier, you can do more things with money. Now, what if your super agents can actually do that for you? Whether it is booking a Uber, booking a flight ticket, all of this will happen completely through agents. So that's the kind of extension what you can expect over your banking apps. So, earlier it was user driven, and now it can be much more agent driven. So which means all those services which otherwise were happening outside the ambit of the current environment, particularly with the bank apps, will get embedded, will become seamless for a user. What will happen is that probably he's giving all the instructions to his bank agent and or his money manager who is sitting inside his bank app, and then he's getting everything done. So it's about how far you can stretch yourself, how far you can imagine yourself in terms of doing that for your consumer is what decides. As we have seen in the last decade, I think most of this heavy lifting has been done by fintechs, and going forward also, let me tell you, all of this would be done by fintechs. And banks obviously have their own things to take care of as custodians of money and as trust holders. Maybe some banks here and there, like what we've seen in Kotak 811, and maybe some of the banks might stretch themselves. So, but definitely yes, there is a lot of innovation and stretching that is going to happen across the spectrum.
Right. So yes, there was a small lag. Uh, Perfect. Like that is like the perfect ending or the perfect last overview that we kind of needed. So over the past 1 hour, we have discussed a lot about how we would see AI being used, different use cases along cards and also in fintech because of Daisy Ma'am's experience. I would like to ask this rapid fire round from the both of you, Daisy Ma'am and Venkat sir, if you don't mind. So I'll
Go
start
for
with
it.
Daisy Ma'am.
Sure.
So okay, ma'am. So it's whatever quickly comes to your mind. Just you just have to say it, and everything will be very BFSI oriented. So it'll just stay in the
Okay.
frame. Okay. So the first surprising thing that you learned in your very first job.
It was surprising, but I think when I went to ask what should I do as a management trainee, I was told build credibility first. So it wasn't a fun thing, but I think it stayed with me across the years that I've worked. Credibility is an important factor.
Perfect. One product that you're proud of shipping,
ABCD app right now.
most proud.
The ABCD app that I've built in the recent past, I'm really proud
Mm,
of.
interesting. Perfect. If AI could fix one customer pain point instantly, what do you think it should be?
For me, I'd love to dabble with AI in the space of personalization because it's consumer facing and that's the hardest part. I believe to crack when it comes to fine tuning any model. So personalization, if you may ask me. It's more fun and it's less boring than the back office implementations.
Okay, all right. Um, One fintech or banking app that you personally cannot live without.
I'm prejudiced and I'm going to say ABCD app here.
So you have all the right. Okay. If your credit card could talk, what is the first thing that it would say to you?
It would say slow down and take a break. You are spending too much.
Perfect, perfect. Uh, all right. So, sir, I have the same set of questions for you, and I'll ask you one by one, if you don't mind. Okay.
Sorry, can you just repeat?
So,
I lost the sequence. Yeah.
the yes, sir. So, so just like I asked Daisy ma'am a set of questions as part of the rapid fire round, I'm going to ask the same questions to you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, sir. Great. So the first is, what is the first surprising thing that you learned in your very first job?
Oh, okay. I mean, in terms of on the banking side, the surprising thing is about how do you balance your books. There was a difference of 4,500 rupees between two ledgers, and that's actually a jotting down error. After spending one whole day, I came to realize that it's a jotting down mistake. So it took me almost 5 hours, but it's fun.
Interesting, sir. Okay. If you had to pick one product that you're most proud of shipping, what would it be?
Yeah, definitely the fast tag product, because we were one of the three banks that launched the fast tag product, and a lot of effort has gone into that. So definitely that's the product.
Interesting, sir. Okay. So next is, if AI could fix one customer pain point instantly, what do you think it should be?
About the transaction drop, I think most of the times when you feel that something has gone wrong and you don't know what exactly gone wrong, it's about that. And second is, whenever you're talking to a call center, you always lose the context because you will never guarantee that you will reach to the same person. And having that context or continuity is something what I would say that to be fixed first.
If there's one banking or fintech app that you personally cannot live without.
Oh, okay. Undoubtedly Paytm. of course of course, I have no obligation.
Classics are same. All right. So if your credit card could talk, what is the first thing that it would say to you?
So spend less.
Perfect, perfect. All right. So that is the last round that we wanted to do after talking in a very nuanced way about all the products. Thanks a lot. It's been an honor to have you both. It's been a great pleasure hosting you both. And I mean, exactly the previous day I was discussing with Ashutosh that we have a great set of panel, and it's going to be super exciting because there's just so much that we can ask from you and a lot of information that we can get and break down a lot of misunderstandings or things that in general we don't know about. So it's been a great experience for us hosting you. Thank you so much.
No, it's been a pleasure, Arushi. Thank you so much for having me, Ashutosh Arushi. And lovely to meet Venkat back again.
Thanks, Samia.
Thank you, Daisy. Thank you, Daisy, ma'am. Thank you, Venkat sir. Thanks again for coming in. It was a lovely session. Really enjoyed, and the depth of it. this shows key you have spent a lot of time writing PRDs. Uh, so I really loved and enjoyed the depth. Would love to like meet in person, also pick your brains on multiple things. I
Likewise.
keep meeting Venkat sir whenever he is in Bangalore, even go Mumbai together. So we have done a lot of trips. Yeah. Thank you so much again. It was lovely hosting you, and thanks Harushi for organizing.
And thanks, Arushi, for accommodating my request last week for changing the date. It was really a bad time last Saturday. So thank you.
No worries. So thank you so much. All right. So I'll come back next week with another episode. So until then, thank you, everybody.
Harushi,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I'm
Harushi,
unable.
your internet was really very bad.
Yeah.
Uh, it has killed the vibe.
I can leave, but I have to keep the window open, right? That's what I.
You have to keep the tab open.
I'm gonna try that. So that
Mm,
otherwise we
Arshi
have to
disappeared.
press the window.
Cool. Thanks again, Daisy ma'am. Would love to show you the AA demo. I've pinged Vamsi to basically connect with you as well, right? And would love to give a demo whenever you get time of
Yeah,
our product as well. Or I'll just send it. You can just check it, and if that seems something interesting to you, would love to show you around and. Uh, like would love to, so we are majorly working in the onboarding segment, right? Solving onboarding, reducing drop offs and bringing back customers who have dropped off, building personalization there. So that is the things that we are working on, but would love to pick your brains on it as well.
yeah, I would love to connect because that's a space which I am interested in, and in fact, top of the funnel and middle of the funnel across ABCD app, right? We have 26 plus products, so that's a big area of development for me. And in fact, AI is at my forefront for building solutions in that space. So I am looking for top of the funnel, middle of the funnel solutions.
Absolutely. So I think then we are on point actually, and onboarding for us is the key. So we are implementing onboarding, and that's why we are working with Finbu, Signsy, and others. So all of the basically black box for any of the product managers can be removed overall, right? So we are working with them very deeply, and that's why we released the A voice product as well with Finview. So yeah, I would love to show you what we are building.
Yeah, I'd love to see it as well.
Yeah.
So maybe what we could do is, if Arushi has my coordinates, if I think she can just drop coordinates for you and the team, I could set some time, maybe the next couple of weeks coming up,
Yep.
and it can be an e-meet. That's fine. We can at least have a preliminary discussion on what the options.
Yep.
Is.
Absolutely. And we are doing it for we are working with Mahindra Finance, the super app piece. So a lot of super apps we are working with. We've deployed and shown ROI overall. And yeah, I think we'll catch up. We'll dig
Sure.
more
We'll
into
catch up.
detail. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks, Daisy.
Bye, Venkat. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Lacey. Nice meeting you after a long time. Maybe JFF will catch up again.
Yeah, yeah. We'll be there in GFF definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bye.
Right. Thanks.
सही था सर. आई थिंक
Yes.
ये चेंज करना पड़ेगा. रिवर साइड बहुत ही फुद्दू है मतलब.
हाँ हाँ नहीं एक दो बार क्या हुआ था
हम्म.
I was able to hear you guys but my screen vanished. I don't know why. I was able to hear you guys. I was able to see
नहीं,
all
आई
your
थिंक
faces.